Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Bridge, and specifically Conversations on the Bridge. If you are new here, which you will be because this is our first episode, the purpose of this particular podcast, YouTube conversation stream, whatever the hell we're calling it, is to talk to people who have had experiences that not just that society would consider to be kind of a bit strange, but out there, the kind of stuff that people don't talk about because they get called crazy or get ridiculed by their friends. So yeah, with that, I have my first guest waiting in the wings. Got Zach, who one night went to bed, everything was normal, and then stuff started to happen. So Zach, hello.
Hi there. How's it going?
So yeah, tell us about what happened. What was your experience?
So for me, it triggers by being in a completely new environment. If I'm going to bed somewhere that I've never slept before, it tends to happen then. It's only happened a couple times, but I never forget sort of certain things like that. It was pretty unreal. So when I was in Blenheim staying at a hotel, it was got late.
Just for the viewers, so Blenheim is a town in New Zealand. We're both streaming to you from New Zealand. So Blenheim, it's in the top of the South Island. So yeah, Zach just moved to Blenheim. Well, it was in Blenheim.
Yeah, I was working there at the time. It's a bit away from Christchurch. So, but yeah, it's when I was in, I just felt like because it was really cold, I'd woken up and I'd been basically in my room and I'd woken up, but my eyes were like wide open, but I could look down and I could see my arm and stuff. I could see my arms, but I could not like lift them at all. Like I was having this like sleep paralysis type sort of moment. I just couldn't actually lift my arms or do anything. And then out of nowhere, like I just started getting like moved around the bed. And it was like I was getting rolled around the bed and sort of going up and down, and like I went off the side of the bed to the wall and then back up onto the bed, and like I was back in the same position. And then I could see, like, as everyone sort of like they get that sleep paralysis, they see something like a dark shadow in the room. And yeah, I could see that standing right next to my bed. And then before I knew it, it was like I was standing where that dark shadow was, and then I was looking down at myself on the bed, and I was just like sort of coming to terms with like, I'm dreaming right now. I must be dreaming. Like this that can't be me or anything. That I must be just having a dream.
Were you scared at that point, like suddenly realizing that your body was still there and you weren't in your body, or were you kind of okay with the fact that was happening?
I just assumed that it was my imagination running wild. I wouldn't have actually thought that was like it was actually me, but like I came to terms with the fact that I was dreaming. I had that sort of, it never happened before where I've realized I'm in a dream. So I was like, the next thing I sort of want, I was like, what else do I want? What can I possibly have and stuff? I'll just imagine it. And then boom, it was like right there. I could have it. I could just have that. And the first one of the first things, yeah, it was just completely surreal. It's never happened to me again before or anything like that. It's been close. I've had it closely come again, but I sort of like forced myself out of it because I got a bit freaked out, sort of thing. But
so when you said that you could like just create anything that you wanted, like by thinking about it, was there anything in particular that you created?
Yeah, well, like the first ever thing, I was like, what would I want and stuff. I was just like, I just want to fly and stuff. I want to, so I just literally shot up and I went straight through the ceiling. It was like burst a hole in the ceiling, but I just went straight through it and I was right up into the clouds. I went straight up into the clouds and I was just cruising along through the clouds and I was like, this is just like really nice. And then I just started doing kind of stunts. Like I went really close to the ground, flying past sort of buildings, sort of close to the ground, like went onto the ground and then leapt again. It was like I was flying, like leaping.
I've experienced that in dreams that like they're up and down, like you can't quite get into the air.
Yeah, you can't quite get it, but you're sort of going at the same time. Yeah. It was, yeah. And then the next thing I sort of wanted, I was like, oh, I just want to have sex with the most beautiful person ever in the world. And then that's the
Typical
next
guy.
thing I was just, it was like, literally, it was in the form of the devil. Like, it was like
Oh, yeah.
red skin, like fucking erotic, like really just weird. It was just completely weird. And like, so yeah, and then I was doing that, I was having that, and then like after that point, it sort of gets like I can't exactly remember after that point. And the dream definitely felt like the longest ever sleep that I've ever had, and when I woke up, my heart was racing. Like I woke up and stood up out of my bed, and I was just like, "What just happened?" I couldn't even sleep the rest of that night. Like
Mhm. Yeah,
it
I
was,
imagine
I
like
just,
the adrenaline rush of that. So the so when I've because I've heard your story once before. I thought you fought the devil, or is that me misremembering?
nah, I never said that. Just slept with the devil type thing.
Ah, yeah. I'll have
It
to
was
change the
like
title.
yeah, yeah. It was like because I'd never, but in the I do remember sitting right above on the bed, like sitting right above them, and just yeah, it was just like I'd never seen
So
red skin before. When you're looking at it through your
so
dreams,
was
so
like apart from the entity with or the female having red skin, was there anything like any other like features that made you decide it was the devil, or just rather than being just
it
a
wasn't
red
that
skin?
what I wanted. I just said I wanted to have like in my brain. I said I wanted to, have best sex with the best sort of thing ever. And then my brain formed like it made that. It made, and it wasn't like I would have. I was younger at the time. There was nothing in particular that had taken my interest towards stuff like that. It just like it's like my brain just formed it and did it by itself.
Hmm, interesting. I wonder.
Unless I just
I was just thinking like the color of lust is often associated. Well, sorry, red is associated with the color of lust, and I can't remember what TV show it's in, but I'm pretty sure there's a TV show where like the seven deadly sins from like the Catholic faith are like personified, and there's like a hot like red-headed woman is the personification of lust, and so I guess like I mean obviously I don't want to put labels on your experience, but
that's
like
all
that
right.
makes absolute sense to me that yeah, you get some kind of form, whether or not it was demonic or just a lust spirit.
Yeah, I don't know what it like how it derived or came about. It wasn't like that's exactly what I wanted, It just that it was like I wanted that and then that's what I got. So I just went with what I got, type of thing, which is it was like for me, I knew that when I had realized I was in a dream, it could have been I didn't have to go and fly and I didn't have to go and, have sex with that sort of red sort of person. I didn't, it was I could have had anything. I could have imagined anything that I wanted. It was like the power was there. It was just power, pure, and like fucking you could have it.
I see. What made you conclude that it was a dream as opposed
Because
to anything else?
when I woke up, because I did wake up, it was like, and then I woke up, I could lift my arm up because at the start, like I just lifted my arm up and I shot up out of bed. I was like, fuck. So now I have control of my body again because it was just like my heart had dropped. I felt my heart drop when I could not lift my arm and stuff. And when I was getting rolled around the bed, my heart was racing. Like I was about to have a heart attack, it felt like. And it's
Mhm.
just, yeah, nothing I've ever experienced before. Like, and I've had like night sort of terrors before type thing where I used to sleepwalk when I was around 10, 11 years old,
Mhm.
sleepwalk type thing. It never got any worse after that. It sort of calmed down and never went. And then that sort of experience happened to me. And I've only noticed that it happens when I'm at a different environment, when I'm in a completely new house or staying in a bed that I've never slept in before. And then
Interesting.
it would take a couple nights of doing that. And then, yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. It's terrifying at the same time. It really scares you.
Have you had so you said that you've had other night terrors. Is that like in conjunction with sleep paralysis, or do you have sleep paralysis?
Sort of. It's the same sort of lines, like because I've just moved into a new place now. It happened to me, a couple of weeks ago, but I knew exactly what it was. Like it was weird because I was sleeping in this bed in this room, and like it was dark, same sort of circumstances, same sort of like feeling and things, and then just as like I'd woken up, I couldn't move my arm again because I knew, and I knew I was lifting it. I actually, what this time I did lift it up, and it was like my whole down my neck. I could feel it. It was like it was really, I was fighting it. But I heard this. It happened really, really quickly within like 10 seconds. But this really, really quick, slight, like a really whisper, like a hey. All they said was hey, but it was just like a really slight little girl's voice, like hey, like that. That's what shot me up, and I was trying to force my arm up, and it was the same sort of situation. But yeah, I sort of got, and then I stood up after that. Like I didn't have that astral projection or anything. I just sort of stood up, and then I went back to bed because I had work in the morning. So it was just
Have
like
you
over it.
read any of the research or whatnot into, or have you looked into other examples of your experience and seen what's happened with other people and what research there is on it?
I have looked into the sleep paralysis part and what people see and like how, and it's generally along the exact same lines. Like everything is, what happened to me was already, when I looked it up, I was like, shit, those are like all the dots are connecting. I didn't need to look it up first and go, oh yeah, that kind of happened. All the dots connected like straight away. It was just, yeah, it's really terrifying.
Absolutely. So when I'll just go back to like for an explainer for the audience as to what sleep paralysis is. So when you go to sleep, your body is meant to paralyze itself so that you don't get up and sleepwalk. If your body isn't doing that function, then you do get up and sleepwalk. However, generally when you go to sleep, your body paralyzes itself and then your brain also shuts off at the same time, and then you go into the dream world or whatever else. However, it is quite common that people will wake up and find that they are awake, but their body is still remaining asleep. And then generally when that happens, you start to panic. And as soon as you start to panic, then stuff generally starts appearing. It's kind of like, because you're in that halfway between awake and asleep, your mental creations come about almost immediately, which can get more and more terrifying. The idea of like the succubus demon that like comes and sits on people while they sleep comes from sleep paralysis, as far as like the research into ancient legends and whatnot goes. Have you ever looked into like astral projection and whatnot?
Not insanely, no. Like it only happened to me that once, and it's like I'd never forget it type thing, just because of how it was. But yeah, I've never actually really looked into it. I know that it can be triggered by hallucinogenics, LSD, or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, it's quite common in like trauma situations, like when people are in like extreme accidents or whatnot. I have heard of it happening when people are being SA'd, which when someone is forcing themselves upon another person, just for YouTube, I won't say the actual words. But then also you can induce out of body experiences or astral projection experiences through different techniques. There's a fella, Robert Monroe, who was experiencing a hell of a lot of the symptoms that you kind of described, of like body just sort of freezing up, although he then had a lot of like vibrations and whatnot happening through his closed eyes. He'd like see light and stuff, and then he left his body. But him being a scientist, in fact, at the time he was trying to work on a technique to be able to learn while you sleep by listening to like different audio things, and through him and then having his astral projection experiences, he started researching into that there and came up with binaural beats. Have you heard of binaural beats?
No, I don't think so.
So they're quite cool. So you can use them for all sorts of things like studying or sleeping or meditation or out of body experiences or all sorts of stuff. Essentially, they play like one tone in one ear and one tone in the other ear, and like your brain
Oh,
operates between like 4 hertz and like I don't know 40 hertz or whatever. But those levels of the tones are way too low for you to hear audibly. So what they do is they'll play like 100 hertz in this ear, 120 hertz in this ear, and then your brain corrects the difference. And then so you hear and then and what your brain hears is
yeah. So I see what you mean. It sort of evens it out in a way.
yeah, exactly. And then what they'll do from there is they'll like slowly reduce one of the other tones. So it'll start at a hertz rate that is in sync with your brain, and then they'll slowly reduce down the hertz rates until it puts you into different stages. Because
No,
like
so it works its way down and then it
yeah,
induces you into it. Oh, right.
yeah, you can also do them in the opposite direction where like if you're feeling tired and whatnot, you can listen to ones that are energizing or good for study or focusing. I use the focus ones at work when I'm loading up my delivery van so that I'm like never second guessing a single thing. I'm just instantly just on point with everything I do. But yeah, Robert Monroe specifically wanted to use these binaural beats to induce the I think it's the theta state, which is the dream state while people were awake, so that they could force themselves into going through your experience. But because they are going through it aware, then I mean, obviously for you, it actually ended up being a pretty cool experience, even if it had a bit of a wacky ending.
Yeah.
But well, should I
I
say
felt like
the flying sounds pretty cool.
yeah,
Um,
that was really cool. It was you're just up in the clouds, like right up in the clouds, and it's like you don't feel the wind on your face because I don't know, but you just felt like you could feel it in a way. It was like you were breathing in fresh air for the first time. It was
yeah,
just insane.
yeah, I know, I do know what you mean. I just mentioned before we went live, I experienced my first proper um astral projection thing earlier on in the week as a result of listening to the binaural beats. But I've also had flying in lucid dreams. Have you had lucid dreams where you become aware that you're dreaming halfway through?
I think definitely when I was quite young, like around 12 to 13, like sort of halfway through, oh yeah, I'm in a dream, but then it tends to end quite quickly after that. Like you sort of have one experience, maybe you realize you're in a dream, but then it's like the whole 6 hours of sleep that feel like 30 minutes, or that last 5 minutes is where you just realized, and then
Mhm.
it sort of ends. I think I've had been through that, but never like tapped into it or like, used it to my advantage type of thing.
Yeah, I'd say lucid dreaming. I've only had I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 lucid dreaming experiences, although like the last 2 have been this week, so and then the previous 3 have been like over the years, but I'm like purposely training myself how to do it. But yeah, you're right that you can have cool experiences, learning experiences as well. And you can essentially do whatever you want when you lucid dream. And it's actually really easy to train yourself to lucid dream because when you're in the dream world, there are certain things that always look wrong. So one of them is digital clocks. If you look at the numbers on a digital clock, the numbers will like be spazzing, like they won't
Right.
remain the same. Another one is your hands, like you won't have the right amount of fingers. Another one is light switches don't do anything. So if you go and turn a light switch on and off, like the light level will not change at all. So what you do is
I've
throughout the day.
definitely,
What was that? Sorry.
sorry. Well, like I've definitely had a dream. Like there was one other dream that I've had that was very vivid to me. It always stuck with me because I was in quite a bit of fear from it. But I was like over in the slums over in Australia, Africa or somewhere. It was just like quite, like the slums type of place, just tin houses everywhere. But I looked up into the sky and I looked right up at the moon, and like everywhere was dark and sort of thing. But I looked up at the moon. The moon was clear as day, like perfect night. And then out of nowhere, the moon just started to explode and started blowing up into massive fractures, and it was coming towards like Earth. And and all I could think about was like, holy shit. I was like, I need to find my family, need to find my little sister. I started running through like fucking bowling down tin like houses and stuff to try and, but like the whole moon was literally exploding and coming towards us. And like, that one was really vivid. Like it was CGI, it was just so clear and vivid.
So with it being clear and vivid, were you aware that it was a dream, or is it just
Yeah,
a
well, like
super
I was
vivid dream?
freaking out. I was
You're what,
freaking
sorry?
out.
Oh, you're freaking out. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't something that like I didn't at that time. It wouldn't have even mattered to me whether I was in a dream or not. I was just like the fucking moon's exploding and coming towards us. Sorry if I'm swearing stuff, but
No,
the
you're fine.
moon's coming towards us, and like it was just like all I could think about was finding my little sister. But maybe if I had realized it was a dream at that point, it might have spun out and done something different. It might have changed the whole scenery, or because that's generally what happens. The whole sort of thing changes.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the level of how much you know that you can change it. Because in the lucid dreams that I've had, well, in fact, the two most recent lucid dreams that I've had, there hasn't been anything that I've wanted to change. However, there was one lucid dream a few months back where I was literally dreaming that I was in my house here, and I was talking to some family members, and I was telling them that it was a dream, and they were saying to me, "Nah, Ben, you're not in a dream." I was like, "No, I am aware that this is a dream," and they were like, getting quite annoyed at me about the fact that I was telling them that I was in a dream.
While
And
you're in a
so,
dream.
yeah, yeah, it's really weird because I mean, if you go and say to someone in real life, while you're awake, "Hey, I'm dreaming," they'll say, "No, you're not." And if you
Yeah,
say to
that
someone in a dream that you're dreaming, they'll say, "No, you're not." Like they're the same reaction. But anyway, so I said, "Look, I'll prove it to you," and I sorry, and then so I walked outside, and like it was a cloudy day, and I just like put my hands up. I was just like, look at this. The clouds are just going to disappear," and it did. It just like cleared up into a beautiful blue day. Didn't change their minds. They still thought that I was fully awake. But
yeah,
that's the only time I've
that
changed something.
does that makes sense. Like, because now that you say that, it's like, yeah, when you are in a dream and people tend to look at you sideways. They look at you like I do get that sort of impression from people when I think about all the dreams that I've had in the past and things. I can never recall someone saying like, just like laughing about the fact they're in the dream world, or like, oh, everything's just a dream in here, and you can have what, no one ever points out that it is a dream and that you are just dreaming. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, regardless of what the dream reality actually is, if it's a mental creation or if it's a actual reality, it is a fully solid thing in whichever state it is. So the beings in the dream, yeah, I mean, that's their world, even if it is a world that's created by our own minds. So that would make sense. That said, though, the last two lucid dreams I've had, I haven't told people that I'm dreaming in them, but I have had conversations in them, like talking about. I can't even remember what the conversations were about, but I remember having like relatively important conversations, and I think in one of them I said to them like, "This is the astral realm," and they didn't really say anything. They didn't disagree. They were just like, "I," but yeah, I one of the dreams I had a few nights back, I ended up flying in the dream, and there was my sister-in-law was also flying, and her sister. I don't know why we were the only three people that were flying. Like everyone else was just milling around doing their stuff. And I started doing tricks and stuff like you described, and I decided to see if I could spin like at a speed of like sorry, not spin, do flips. And I was like speeding myself up, and I decided I wanted to try and be able to spin as fast as 100 flips a second was what was going on in my mind. And I think it was my sister-in-law who was also flying, or someone said like do not try and spin that fast, you'll kill yourself if you do. And I was thinking to myself, I can't kill myself, I am like in the dream world, I'm in the astral world, I can't kill myself. And so I continued spinning as fast as I could, and then boom, woke up. So I guess I did kill myself out of that particular dream. I don't know, but it was really cool up until the point where I decided to push things too far.
Just ejected yourself out of the dream almost.
Yeah, it was weird. Like I've never, like other times where I've had like a lucid dream or stuff like that, or really vivid dreams, I always get woken up from something in the environment, like my dog will move,
oh yeah,
turn a light on or something like that, and it's always like really annoying because I'm like, oh, you guys ruined the stream that I was having. This particular time there was nothing in the environment that had woken me up. It was like me, pushing the limits of the dream. Yeah. So yeah, what were you gonna say?
It's quite funny how like at the end of your dream and stuff, your brain can sort of like manifest your dream into the sounds you're having outside. Like if there's a knock on your door, you generally hear that knock in your dream, and it's like it's happening like on a door in your dream, and you go up to that door, and then you're sort of like, oh no, wait, that's in real life. I sort of have to wake up and answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a theory, which I don't believe at all, but there was a theory where they said that they think that your entire dream happens like the split second you wake up. So like your hour-long dream is actually only happening like the very moment that you wake up. And so and the way that they try to claim that that's the case is because sometimes you'll hear like an annoying sound in your dream for like half an hour, and then you'll wake up and it was your alarm clock, and they go, well, how could have it been half an hour? Oh, it must be that the entire dream was condensed into 1 second. And then you just heard that. I think that it's probably more likely that the your ability to tell time in dreams just doesn't really add up at all. And so like maybe their last half an hour was within the last, I don't know, 30 seconds or 1 minute of you sleeping, but the rest of it I highly doubt was. The astral projection that I had earlier on in the week was 20 minutes long in total. However, it felt like hours. I was shocked when I checked my phone and realized only 20 minutes had gone past. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, has anything like do you think that your experience has changed anything for you at all, like as far as your life and how you see things?
It's definitely made me more like aware that something like that can happen, and that I guess looking for it, it's kind of like the same as it happening randomly. Like the fact that when something like that happens randomly to you, you're not trying to trigger something like that. You end up like it freaks you out a lot more. So for people, like I can almost guarantee that when they go through something like that, the next time they get a snippet of what that's going to happen again, it's going to happen again. They'll force themselves out of it and stuff.
Yep.
They'll push that away because like it's like you're letting something in, but you're also terrified of it at the same time. It's just something that it can be really cool and nice and fun, but it can also be very terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you go into it and it terrifies you, well then every subsequent time is going to trigger that same thing. I mean, just because it's an experience while you're asleep doesn't mean that it can't be traumatic. Like a lot of the most traumatic things happen while people are either asleep or on like psychedelics, which is also a kind of just a wacky reality that's still just inside your head. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you at all. One thing that I used to use to stop sleep paralysis, and in fact I don't really get sleep paralysis anymore after I started doing this here, is I'd heard that if you tried wiggle your toes, that would snap you out of it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, somehow it works because like your arms feel really heavy, everything else is really heavy, but for some reason you can wiggle your toes. Like they still feel like a little bit stiff, but you have the sense that I would wiggle them. Pardon?
You still have control at least over that.
Yeah, exactly. And then like as soon as you wiggle them, and then yeah, it
wakens your body up.
Sort of in fact, in the astral projection experience that I had around the week, like I reset the experience like 5 or 6 times because like stuff was happening that I didn't like, and I wasn't scared of it, but it was just annoying. Like, well, actually, there was one of the experiences like someone was holding me from behind, and this was in the nighttime one, and I couldn't like get out of their grip, and so wiggled my toes, and then I was back lying down, and on this second I'm lying down, I could feel like vines holding me. Like it wasn't that like everything was heavy. It was that there was like vines holding onto me. Like the room was pitch black, so I couldn't see what these vines were. But like I was struggling to get out of them, and then like I grabbed one of them that was over my chest. Yeah, I could feel it, so I grabbed it with my arms, like started to like try and chew on it, to like try and break it that way. But I couldn't. It was like a mixture of I don't know woody material and like rubber or something. But this inky black vine, and then because I couldn't chew through it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna reset this one again, and yeah, did my toe wiggle thing, and then the next time after that one, I was able to float out properly. So yeah. Weird stuff, but it's kind of cool. Yeah, what would you say to other people that have had your kind of experience? And yeah, is there anything that you think would
I would
be helpful?
almost say once you do realize that you are in sort of that realm, I'd say just let your imagination run wild. Like just ask for anything when you're in that sort of, you gotta like test that boundary, it's the saying, basically what is it, a pesky beggar, sort of thing. But you just can't sort of turn down an opportunity like that. If it comes to you, it's definitely an experience, because it sort of opens your eyes up to the possibilities of what happens after you close your eyes. Like, your whole sort of world just changes. It's like, it's definitely something, because you might only get one shot at something, doing something like that in your life, and you might turn it down, and you'll never know like how your brain can just ask for something and it can just happen like that. Like it's like wishing for something, or having 3 wishes. You wish for it and it's there and it happens.
Absolutely. I see that and like my view is that like the world works the same way, but on a really, really slow scale, and you have to do physical action to get it. Like it's not just a wish and it instantly happens. So yeah, having the ability to do that automatically is real cool. So yeah, I would absolutely agree with what Zach said, that if you find yourself in an experience where you are either fully lucid of your dreams, or you have found yourself paralyzed and then you lift yourself out of your body rather than freaking out, then go for gold and create your most insane world while you're in your dream world.
Your experience. It's just
yeah.
No, that's
awesome.
Good.
Cool. So is there anything that you would say to everyone in the world? Imagine that every person in the world is watching right now, and you can say anything you want to at all. It doesn't have to be inspirational. It can be like go buy Maccas. It can be whatever you want. But yeah, imagine that every single person in the world is watching, because they are. believe it or not.
I'd
But
say don't.
yeah.
I would almost say don't try so hard and try to sit back and have fun and, you know, be happy rather than drive yourself to a point that's you're just not going to be happy. You know, you might get your goal, you might get what you want, but does it make you actually happy in the end? And you know, just something subtle, small like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. I fully agree with that. There's no point pushing yourself. I mean, no point pushing yourself too hard on something just for the sake of doing something. If it's something that you enjoy, then yeah, go for gold. But there's no point in overdoing it just for the sake of it. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Zach, so much for coming on
good.
my podcast, and I look forward to catching up with you next time I'm in Christchurch. And to all of my listeners, if you have your own kind of story of a similar nature, or any kind, sorry, not even a similar nature, just anything that's out there and wacky, then please leave it in the comments. If you'd like to talk about your story on a live stream, then put that in the comment as well, and I'll reach out to you. And yeah, like the video, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends and family if you so desire. And with that, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Zach. And with that, bye, guys.
Have a good one.